So what if AI wasn't just a tool, but a whole team of specialized thinkers right at your fingertips? Well, that's the big idea behind Gemini 3. It's a fundamental shift in how we interact with intelligence itself. In this explainer, we're going to dissect this new anatomy of intelligence and show you exactly how to tap into its power.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll explore this new anatomy of intelligence. Then, we'll dive deep into the 3 cognitive layers that make it all tick. We're also going to uncover the surprising depth of the pro model, learn how to use these tools like a pro, and finally, take a peek at what's just around the corner in the world of AI.
Okay, first up, a new anatomy of intelligence. Here's the best way to think about it. Old AI was kind of like a calculator, right? You put in a question, you get one answer back. But this new AI, it's like a brainstorming partner. You can actually have a conversation, you can explore ideas, and you can create things together. That's the whole new dynamic we're going to unpack. You know, this quote from our source, Aydın Tiryaki, just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures where we are now. It's not about just having AI anymore. The game is totally changed. The real skill is knowing which cognitive layer to use for which task so you get the absolute best result. It's all about strategy.
So, how do we make those strategic choices? Well, it all comes down to understanding the 3 cognitive layers of Gemini 3. And you really should stop thinking of them as just different settings. Instead, think of them as a dedicated team of specialists, each one with their own unique superpower.
This table breaks it down perfectly for us. On the team, you've got Fast, who's your agile assistant for all the quick, everyday stuff. Then there's Thinking, your strategic consultant for planning and organizing. And finally, you have Pro, the expert analyst for when you need to go really, really deep. Each one has a critical role to play.
Let's start with fast mode. Honestly, this is your secret weapon for just getting stuff done. It's the workhorse of your team, just blazing through tasks like summarizing a huge article in seconds, reformatting text instantly. Basically, all those practical, day-to-day things that just need to get done, well, fast. Next up, you've got thinking mode. This is your strategic partner in crime. Let's say you're launching a new product, right? You'd use thinking mode to map out the entire launch plan, from the initial research all the way to the final social media push, making sure every single step is logical and perfectly thought out.
And that brings us to Pro mode. This is your AI-powered Sherlock Holmes. No question. When the stakes are high, when you have a really complex puzzle to solve, this is the tool you call in. It can dissect incredibly intricate problems, find patterns you'd never see, and give you insights that would be almost impossible to find on your own.
Now, here's the thing. Most people hear pro and they immediately think, that's just for coders and data scientists. But what if I told you its true power lies in something much more human? We're about to unlock the hidden depths of this deep thinking model.
Okay, imagine this. You're in a super high-stakes negotiation. The Pro model can actually analyze the emotional subtext of the conversation, help you navigate those tricky social dynamics, and even give you a completely different perspective you might have missed. It's kind of like having a wise mentor and a superpowered therapist all rolled into one.
So, we've got this incredible team of AI thinkers ready to go. But how do we actually use them effectively? You know, without burning through our daily limits on the really powerful modes. This section is all about turning you into a master craftsman with your new AI toolkit. The secret is what we're calling the hybrid usage strategy. Think of it like a chef in a top-tier kitchen. You use your everyday tools for all the prep work, but for that final masterpiece, you bring out the specialized high-end gear. So first, you prepare with the unlimited fast mode. Second, you analyze with Pro. And third, you finalize with Fast. It's all about using your intelligence credits as wisely as possible. But what if you're dealing with a mountain of documents? That's where NotebookLM comes in. Think of it as your own private research lab, a totally separate space where you can do deep, focused analysis on huge datasets without ever touching your daily Gemini limits. For professionals, this is an absolute game changer. And maybe the best part of all this intelligence isn't stuck in one app. It's woven into the very fabric of the whole Google ecosystem. So whether you're in Sheets, Photos, or your workspace docs, you've got this powerful AI partner working right alongside you, making everything just a little bit easier. Okay, so we've seen what Gemini 3 can do today. But what about tomorrow? The thing is, the pace of AI evolution is accelerating like crazy, and understanding something called scaling laws is the key to seeing what the future holds. Now, get ready for this, because this slide reveals a truly mind-blowing fact. Today's fast model is as smart as yesterday's pro model. Yep,
The baseline Gemini 3 Flash has already hit the same intelligence level as the last generation's most advanced version. The implications of that are just staggering.
This timeline just shows you that relentless march of progress. The expert-level analysis we get from the 2024 Pro model becomes the standard high-speed operation in 2025's Flash model. If you follow this law of AI scaling, it's not a question of if, but when, the standard Flash version of Gemini 4 will have the reasoning power of today's best Pro model.
And this all brings us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. If expert-level AI is about to become an everyday tool for everyone, what's next? The challenge isn't just about making AI smarter anymore. It's about figuring out how to direct that incredible intelligence towards solving the world's biggest, toughest problems. The future really is in our hands.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tearing into a stack of insights that I think fundamentally changes how we all view artificial intelligence.
It really does.
We are definitely moving past that time when interacting with AI felt like asking this single, gigantic, but kind of monolithic brain for an answer.
Right.
According to Aydın Tiryaki's analysis, and that's really the foundation for our dive today, AI has shifted from a static response engine into something, well, dynamic, a multi-layered cognitive system. Okay, let's unpack this. We're going deep into the architecture of Google's Gemini 3, which, introduced these three distinct levels: fast, thinking, and pro.
And that distinction is everything.
It's not just a version update, is it? It's more like we've been given a precise manual dial to choose the cognitive depth we need. It turns a digital assistant into more of a strategic partner.
And that strategic partnership is really the mission for you, the listener, today. The new challenge isn't just having access to these incredibly powerful tools.
It's knowing how to use them.
Exactly. It's about knowing which cognitive layer is the right tool for a specific problem to get the most refined, the most efficient outcome.
So we're moving past just data retrieval.
Way past it.
Yeah.
This is about strategic application. You have to think of yourself as the conductor of an AI orchestra now, and you're the one who decides what level of intelligence the task at hand actually requires.
So I think the first question that pops into my head, and probably for a lot of people, is why? Why did AI need layers in the first place? For years, the whole narrative was just about creating the smartest possible model. Like intelligence was this one single thing you could measure.
And this new structure fast thinking pro-it just completely breaks that illusion of a one-size-fits-all intelligence.
That's a really critical observation. The old way was, it was like asking a supercomputer to do simple arithmetic.
Sure, it could do it, but it was massive overkill, and it was slow. The sources really emphasize that this layering lets you actively tune your AI tools.
You wouldn't use a Formula One car to drive to the grocery store.
You wouldn't, and you shouldn't use a massive AI model to just write a quick email. That's the core idea.
Okay, so if the function is different, does that mean the actual architecture is fundamentally different between these tiers? It's not just a speed setting, right?
Not at all. And that's the key architectural insight. These layers are distinct because they're optimized for totally different constraints. We're essentially trading computational expense for precision.
Break that down.
Okay, let's start at the foundation, the fast mode. It's often called Flash internally. Think of it as your highly agile default assistant.
The one you use most of the time.
Exactly. Architecturally, Flash is optimized for the lowest possible computational cost and, lightning fast latency.
So near instantaneous responses.
Perfect for daily efficiency, quick summaries, formatting, simple edits. It's designed to handle the bulk of your routine digital tasks, maybe 80% of the volume that doesn't need deep insight.
Okay, so Flash is all about speed, minimizing processing power. But when we move up the stack to thinking, what changes under the hood?
Well, when you step up to thinking, the model size increases, and crucially, its capacity for sequenced reasoning just expands dramatically.
So it's not just faster, it's a better planner.
It elevates the AI to the role of a consultant. It's designed for planning processes that need careful logical sequences. If you need to map out a complex project or structure a multi-step argument.
Or even basic coding.
Basic programming logic, yeah. Thinking provides that crucial power. It's just smarter than Flash because it can hold more variables in its short-term memory while it's calculating.
Which, by extension, must mean that Pro or Deep Think is operating on a completely different scale.
A whole different level. It is the expert mindset. Pro is for tasks that need the absolute highest technical precision and analytical depth.
And how does it do that?
It uses a much larger model size, and this is key, significantly deeper token windows.
Okay, the token window. That's basically how much context the model can read at one time.
That's right. A larger window means it can hold massive, even disparate inputs, like multiple documents, huge spreadsheets, big code bases, and synthesize them all at once.
So this is what you save for building complex formulas or
conducting really intricate data analysis, or asking the AI to synthesize extremely diverse inputs for one single refined output.
It makes me wonder, though, if Pro has this massive token window and superior reasoning, why wouldn't I just use Pro for everything, all the time? Is the computational cost really that big of a deal?
That's the natural question, isn't it? And the answer is yes. The cost is substantial, both in latency, the time it takes to get a response, and in the resources required.
So using Pro to summarize one email is just a waste.
A total waste of those resources. The structure exists because optimal productivity is achieved through segmentation. You maximize your digital productivity by using the right intelligence for the job, optimized for both cost and speed.
Now, when you hear Pro and highest technical precision, I think most people automatically jump to STEM fields, advanced math coding. But the source material introduces a really surprising application here. So is the Pro model strictly for those technical fields?
That's such a critical point Tiryaki makes, and no, it's not. While its ability to, say, construct those complex formulas is a highlight, the utility of Pro goes far, far beyond the purely technical.
And this is where the massive size of the model comes in for tasks we think of as, well, as very human.
It is. What's fascinating here is that the Pro model offers unparalleled common sense and nuance in really complex social scenarios.
It's the ultimate interpreter of subtext.
That's a perfect way to put it.
That still feels a little counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
Why would the most powerful, the most technical AI layer be the best at something as slippery as human common sense or emotional context?
Because common sense isn't simple, you know? It's actually the result of processing millions of examples of human behavior, social rules, subtle linguistic patterns. It's incredibly complex. So when you're dealing with social intricacies or ethical dilemmas or strategic decisions that involve interpreting motivation, that deep thinking capacity of Pro analyzes all those layers.
Including things like implied emotional subtext and cultural contexts.
All the things that fast mode might just overlook because it's optimized for speed.
So if I were trying to draft a really delicate response to a customer complaint, one that has cultural implications, I should switch up from faster thinking to Pro.
Absolutely. You're leveraging that deep analytical power not just for a number, but for the complex web of relationships between people and ideas. It gives you a much more refined, a multidimensional perspective.
It's like having a highly experienced human strategist review your work before you send it.
Exactly.
It's amazing that this level of nuance is available, but that brings up a huge challenge. How quickly is this all changing?
The pace is breakneck.
Let's pivot to that. The rapid improvement, even just from the 2.5 series to the current Gemini 3 Flash, it tells us something really profound about the future. What did Tiryaki find about this velocity?
The key concept here is what are called the scaling laws of AI development. The sources just show this relentless exponential improvement curve.
And what's the headline from that?
What's truly astonishing is that Gemini 3 Flash, today's Flash model, has already reached a level of intelligence that rivals the high-end Pro models of the previous generation.
Wow. Okay, so we have to constantly rewrite our mental job description for what the fast tier can handle.
Yeah.
Fast no longer means simple. It just means fast access to significant reasoning capabilities.
That is the crux of it. The depth just filters down into the velocity layer over time. The scaling laws suggest this predictable trajectory. Today's deepest, most complex analyses will just become tomorrow's standard high-speed operations.
That's the reality of exponential growth.
It is.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we look ahead, say, a year or two, what's the logical expectation for the next major version, Gemini 4, probably arriving around 2026?
Based on this trend we're seeing, the expectation is, well, it's pretty clear. The Gemini 4 Flash version will likely have the depth and reasoning power of today's Pro or thinking models.
Which is just staggering to think about.
It is. This cycle ensures continuous exponential capability growth across the board. The implication for you, for the listener, is profound.
Meaning the tasks that require you to use your quota today.
will soon be free, standard features, and that forces us to constantly recalibrate what we consider advanced versus just standard digital work.
That constant recalibration brings us right to the most practical takeaway for our listeners, for the learner. How do we actually use this power without hitting roadblocks?
Because you will hit them.
Right, because we're dealing with resource management now. Subscribers have limited daily quotas or credits for the intensive thinking and pro modes. We can't just run every single query in deep think.
And this is where the crucial strategic concept of hybrid usage comes in.
Hybrid usage.
If you start treating those top tiers as a finite resource, you stop seeing them as a default. You start using them like a strategic weapon. You have to manage your intelligence credits with maximum efficiency.
Okay, so detail that workflow for us. How does a listener start maximizing that quota in a typical professional day?
The strategy is simple, really. It's a three-pronged approach, all designed to conserve that expensive processing power.
Step 1.
First, you use the unlimited fast mode for all the prep work. This means gathering your initial data, quickly generating bullet point outlines, reformatting documents, checking spelling.
All the simple stuff.
All the simple data entry and edits. This alone conserves, 80% of your quota right off the bat.
And then we switch up for the heavy lifting only when the complexity really demands it.
Exactly. For those critical moments, the moments that require that deeper, high-cost processing, that's when you switch to thinking or pro.
So this is the synthesis phase.
This is when you're pulling together disparate documents into a unified conclusion, or building complex financial models, or doing the core deep analysis that justifies using that top-tier intelligence. It's a targeted strike, not a broad search.
And you finish the loop by downgrading again.
Precisely. You return to fast mode for the final steps, summarizing the results, generating a final report based on that deep analysis, or just formatting the output for a presentation.
Do you have an example?
Sure, I recently used Pro Mode to help me structure this complex internal policy analysis. It was based on a dozen different corporate documents. Then I immediately dropped back to Flash just to format the presentation slides.
A huge time and credit saver.
Absolutely. By managing the process this way, you ensure your resource-intensive queries are only executed when they are truly necessary for complex reasoning.
And beyond just the core Gemini interface, this intelligence is meant to integrate seamlessly into the wider ecosystem, right? Especially for Google AI Pro subscribers.
Oh, definitely.
Can you give us some concrete examples of how Pro is practically weaving itself into our daily work tools, not just a chat window?
The whole integration is designed to turn the AI into a data strategist who works right inside your existing documents. Take Google Sheets.
Okay.
The AI can construct complex matching scenarios in a flash. It can save non-programmers hours of debugging because it's applying its deep thinking to the actual structure of your data.
So an example.
Okay, for instance, let's say you need to look up employee data across two massive, messy spreadsheets, and you need to handle potential errors if a name isn't found. That's a struggle to write manually.
I could attest to that.
The AI, using its high precision, can instantly deploy something really sophisticated, like the example cited in Tiryaki's analysis. iFerv lookup at 2, datasheet AD4, false, check record.
Okay, let's pause on that formula for a second. For anyone listening who hasn't spent years wrestling with spreadsheets, what is that AI actually doing for you there?
That formula is powerful because it deals with a complex reality. Data is often messy, incomplete. The core VLOOKUP function, it searches a big table of data, finds a value, and returns related info.
But if the value isn't there?
The whole spreadsheet can crash or return this nasty error code. So the AI wraps that search in an iFer command. It tells the spreadsheet, look up the data, but if you can't find it, don't crash. Instead, just write the phrase, check record.
So it's the combination of precision lookup and just common sense error handling.
That's what's so hard for users to get right manually, but it's instantaneous for the Pro model.
That level of customized problem solving is massive.
And it extends into visual tools, too. The same advanced intelligence powers tools like Magic Editor and Google Photos. The model applies nuanced reasoning to understand light, shadow, texture,
And composition.
allowing you to reshape your visual memories with astonishing detail. It's becoming omnipresent across the ecosystem.
Speaking of specialized tools, we absolutely have to talk about NotebookLM. Where does this platform fit in this new layered ecosystem, especially if we're worried about hitting those daily quotas?
Right. NotebookLM serves a very distinct and I think vital function. It is a specialized lab for what we call grounded intelligence.
Grounded intelligence.
This is where the AI restricts its knowledge base only to the specific source documents you provide it. Your uploaded notes, research papers, internal memos.
So while the Gemini app can search the whole web, NotebookLM is just focused on my stuff.
It's dedicated to focused, document-centric analysis, and that concept of grounded intelligence is vital for professionals. It means the AI can't hallucinate or invent answers from outside the material you give it,
It forces fidelity to your sources.
which is critical for any legal, academic, or policy work.
Okay, so how does this function as the safety valve you mentioned against hitting those daily limits?
Crucially, NotebookLM operates independently of the daily limits in the standard Gemini 3 interface. So imagine you're a consultant. You need to synthesize a 500-page policy brief and cross-reference it against 10 internal memos to find strategic conflicts.
That task would just,
Oh.
it would destroy your daily quota in the main app if you try to do it in pro mode.
It would be gone instantly. And if you hit the limit mid-analysis, you're dead in the water for the rest of the day.
NotebookLM prevents that.
It prevents that interruption. It becomes your go-to deep focus area for working with large defined data sets. It lets you maintain that high level of critical focused work, the synthesizing, the querying outside of those general consumption limits.
Making it indispensable for certain roles.
For academic or data-heavy professional roles where interruptions are just unacceptable, yes.
But what does this all mean? If we put all these pieces together, the three layers, the exponential scaling laws and this specialized environment of NotebookLM, the core takeaway seems pretty clear. The shift is fundamentally from simply finding information to strategically managing cognitive depth for maximum efficiency.
Absolutely. The architecture of Gemini 3, combined with the specialized focus of NotebookLM, means we're no longer just instructing a single AI brain. We're learning to leverage a toolkit.
Where each component has a specific, powerful role.
And Tiryaki uses this fantastic analogy that just sums it up perfectly. The combination of the Gemini 3 layers and NotebookLM allows you, the user, to conduct your digital AI tools like an orchestra.
An orchestra, I like that.
You decide when the delicate strings of Flash take the lead for efficiency, and when the powerful brass section of Pro has to play to deliver a truly deep, synthesized, and nuanced conclusion.
A perfect image for strategic management in this new age of layered intelligence. And that leaves us with a provocative question for you to consider long after this deep dive is over. Drawing on those scaling laws we discussed. If today's pro-level analysis becomes tomorrow's standard Flash, what new category of intelligence will occupy the deep think tier in Gemini 4? What challenges, maybe something like global systems modeling or complex quantum data analysis, will require that yet-to-be-invented level of analytical depth?
A lot to think about.
Think about that as you tune your own AI orchestra today.